Well, hello everyone, and welcome in to the Six Screens Telenetwork. My name is Rick Farron. I've got my wonderful, beautiful wife here with me, Susan, and tonight we are going to give you what's going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. Well, we are coming to you from the apostate capital of the world, up here in Boston, Massachusetts. Now, I don't, I'm not bragging about it. I'm not trying to over embellish it, but we are. Let me put it this way. If you go into AI, Chat GPT, if you go into Copilot, wherever you go, just punch in there what was the largest gathering of ex Jehovah's Witnesses ever in the history of the Jehovah's Witness movement. And it was up here in Boston. It was last year, right around this time. It was August 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. And how glad I was to meet so many of my fellow friends here from the Six Screens. And didn't you like that, Susan?
I loved it. It was the best thing ever.
All right. All right. All right, hold on. I'm just gonna mute you here if you would, Nicole. All right. So, anyways, all right, we're gonna keep her muted. So, anyways, things are moving forward here in the Six Screens. I have to tell you, this is something that. Okay, okay. What's happening is, yeah, we just got to mute some people here. I'll get a lot of people coming in tonight. And friends, I tell you what, things are really going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. It's just amazing to me the amount of people that are getting out. We'll be talking a little bit about that tonight. But let me just give you a little idea. We got a guest coming on here. He'll be coming on in about a half hour, 40 minutes. His name is Seth. He's an ex Jehovah's Witness, just got out a couple of years ago. He's going to be having a program here on the Six Screens. We got a dozen programs running right now, but we're going to add another one. He's going to tell you about that tonight. So he's coming on somewhere around 9 o'clock. So be on with us. And what Seth is going to be talking about, and I don't want to overemphasize this, but he claims, this is what Seth is claiming, that the Jehovah's Witnesses right now are under somewhat of a big time investigation by government officials here in the United States. Now, last week it came on, you remember, he talked a little bit about it very briefly. He was very hesitant to say too much. I mean, you don't want to talk about legal cases, right? You don't want to spill the beans, but he went back and evidently talked to some of these government officials and said, asked if he could come on the program tonight and be able to share some of the information that they shared with him concerning the Watchtower. So he's coming on tonight. Now, he didn't give me all the information, but enough of it was to get my ears tickled a little bit because we love to see it when the Watchtower is investigated. So he's going to talk about that tonight. So that's something to look forward to. I just want to mention something as well. And what I want to mention here is I'll put the number of the telephone number that you'll be able to call in on across YouTube and Facebook. I'll put that on very shortly. But I also wanted to bring up the fact that when you guys call in on the telephone line, because there's been so many people calling in lately from pretty much all over the world. Excuse me, calling in from all over. So if you could do this for me, when you come in, you hit *6. What that does is it unmutes you. Now, when you are done speaking, hit *6 again, and that will mute you so that we can get a nice, clear audio on our broadcast tonight. But, don't worry. I mean, it can happen. I do it myself sometimes. It's hard to remember. But if you could just practice that a little bit. *6, unmute, done talking, *6 again, that'll mute you. And we can keep this nice and clear because people really want to hear what's going on. And you are the ones that make the program. Susan, talk about that.
Without you, there's no program because we can't know everything. And we want to know what people are experiencing, what's going on in the kingdom halls, what's going on in your lives. And we need to hear you in order to do that.
Yeah, very, very, very important because I'll tell you what, Susan and I could sit here all night long and we could bloviate and talk about the Watchtower and how critical it's been in people's lives. But when they hear you, it all of a sudden opens up a whole new door. It's just not me. It's just not Susan. Just not Dick and Constance and Joe and all these others. We never know who's going to call in. It could be anybody. And in fact, even I'll tell you what, I've always thought, it hasn't happened yet, but one of these days we are going to get a high official of the Watchtower. They're going to say, I've had enough. I'm going to go on and spill the beans. So we're looking to that. We'll see what happens. Well, let me just, before I move forward here, I'm going to put the telephone number up so that you'll be able to see it scrolling across the bottom. So give me a second to do that. Kind of walking and chewing gum here at the same time. So let me just go down here and be able to get that up. And you'll be able to at least call in if you want to, because maybe you're calling in from somewhere around the world. I don't know. People call in from pretty much everywhere.
Jade just called in
from Mongolia.
Mongolia.
Yes. So we have people that call in from South Africa, Sweden, Germany, France, pretty much all over. So it's been really remarkable. But I'll tell you what. Do you ever wake up in the middle of the night? Do you ever wake up in the middle of the night, scratch your head, get up, get a glass of water, walk around, get back in bed and say, what is making this organization tick? And I talk about that a lot. What is the glue? What is holding this organization together? And there's definitely something wrong with the people. Really. And look at a lot of these people, my friends. I don't want to show any real distaste for the Jehovah's Witness people, but they got to wake up. They've got to wake up. They're not awake. They're like zombies. They really are not with it. They're walking around as though they're in some type of a cloud. Now,
are you going to share the?
Yeah, we're going to get into that as well, Susan, in a second. But
They are in a cloud, folks. They really are. Again, the $9 book was called Rape of the Mind, originally from 1961, now available again at Amazon. Also, I got a new TV. You guys look fantastic. And I know you haven't done any different lighting or anything, but everything looks wonderful.
Well, thank you, Pixie. You're going to notice a big change here. We got some new mics, some new lights, some new backdrops. So we're coming up in the world a little bit. So that's good. So anyways, what I wanted.
Radio Free Boston is doing great. I also wanted, I don't know if the gentleman you're going to have as a guest is going to take any questions, but I still stand with my notion that legally, since people die of the blood doctrine, the religion could be shut down for that danger. So I look forward to hearing what he has to say tonight. And I'm not going to call back except for the late night party show tonight. I'll see you all on the after party.
Well, very good, Pixie. Well, stay tuned. He's going to be coming in. He's going to share some thoughts with us that will be good. But, this idea of what is holding this organization together. Now, all of us, I'm a baby boomer, and you guys listening, most of you are baby boomers as well. And, I grew up, as you did, if you were born in or even came in kind of early in life, I grew up with many of my friends who were Jehovah's Witnesses. And I think about them from time to time. I don't know if they think about me, but I do think about them. And, sad to say, I'm sure they stayed with the same mentality in place for probably 30, 40, 50 years. They never grew. Yeah.
Facebook, I found 2 families that I knew that were, because there weren't very many kids and teens when I was at my Kingdom Hall. And I found two from one family and 2 from another, and they have left. So you might be surprised. And Carl Klein told me years ago, he says, we're losing our best people.
Well, I'm sure, Pixie, that many of them that I knew probably have left, but I'm sure many they stayed the same. They never grew out of it. They never grew mentally away from the Watchtower. And I'm thinking that, there's something that I've come to think about in the last few days. I'm really thinking that Jehovah's Witnesses are suffering from some type of a mental illness. Now, this is not.
Again, read that $9 book, The Rape of the
Yeah.
Mind, and you'll see the Korean technique.
Yeah, well, I'm not in. All right, well, we'll let that go right now for now, Pixie, and I can just do this, and we'll talk about that later. But anyways,
Okay.
what I was thinking is that they never really grew out of this mentality that they've been involved with. My friends, as well as people they've been like zombies. They're not awake, and I'm wondering, is it a mental illness of some type that they're they're actually involved with? I think a lot of them have become mentally ill from being in this organization. Now, friends, I don't in any. Pixie, what's that?
I said those techniques were used.
All right.
I'm gonna let you go.
Okay. Yep.
Keep it rolling.
All right. Let me go.
Hey, Pixie, I just wanted to jump in. This is Seth. I'll be joining a little later. I heard your question and I wrote it down.
All right, Seth. That's good. You're on with us, Seth. That's good. So you'll be coming on. We started a little late here tonight, but you'll be coming on about 10 past. So, well, maybe 9 to 10 past, somewhere around there. Okay, Seth? All right.
Sounds good.
All right.
Go ahead and send me the email and I'll be on.
I already did. You didn't get it?
Yes, sir.
You didn't get it? Huh? It
No.
didn't? Okay, I'll make
I'll
sure.
send you an email and you can.
Yeah, send me an email and I'll just send the link off to you. Yeah, okay. All right.
Sounds good.
So anyways, let's talk about this for a second. So I'm thinking in terms of the Jehovah's Witnesses being mentally ill. No, not all, but a good many of them are. And let me just give you my reasons why I think it. And even when I was one, I'm beginning to think maybe I was suffering from some type of a mental illness when I was in there as well. And there's a number of factors I wanted to bring up on if someone would just mute themselves. Yeah, let me mute the file. Okay. Yeah. Let's mute yourself. That'll give me a chance here to, I like to have an open forum like this, but because we have so many people calling in, we might have to get some type of a screener here. If everyone could just play with the rules, it'd be so much easier for me. I don't want to go into it, but just if you could do that. All right. So anyways, this mental illness in the Watchtower, are people mentally ill? I think many of them are. And how can you go through life, everything bad that ever happened in the Jehovah's Witness world, and I used to think this, everything that ever happened bad was Satan's fault. Can you connect with this? I hope you can. I remember when the shuttle blew up. Remember that terrible experience in American history when the shuttle blew up? I actually heard witnesses say it was Satan's fault. I mean, was it? Everything is Satan's fault. If the crops didn't get enough rain out in the Midwest, it was Satan's fault. If you got cancer, it was Satan's fault. Jehovah will fix it. I mean, this is like a mental illness when you think about it, but I used to think that way. I used to think that, things that really were going bad, it was all because of Satan, the devil. Well, what's sad is I'm seeing a lot of my friends dying off. I mean, really, as we're all getting older, we're witnessing friends, relatives, many were witnesses dying off, and they never really learned the truth about the Watchtower. They never got a chance to be really free. And I'm sure you're sharing the same sentiment that I'm sharing. Susan, you had friends. Do you ever think about them?
I do, but I don't know what to think. I mean, where are they? What are they doing? Even my own daughters, I worry about them, but they won't talk to me. So what can I really do? What can I do? Tell me.
Well, I don't know if I have the answer to it entirely, but let me just tell you some of the reasons that I really believe Jehovah's Witnesses are suffering from mental illness. Now, friends, I'm not demeaning mental illness, and who knows what normal really is even today. But I just wanted to say that this is not an attack on people that might be suffering, because it can be very, very difficult. So I'm just going to bring this up and tell you some of the reasons why I think Jehovah's Witnesses are mentally ill. Well, first of all, they are in absolute denial of reality. Isn't that a good definition of mental illness? Denial of reality. We have to, I can touch this table right here. I can hear it. I'm touching it. That's reality. But Jehovah's Witnesses, they're living in some illusionary world. They cannot touch reality. They're in denial of basic facts. You know, if you had a mental illness and you went to a psychiatrist, a psychologist, you're trying to find out what's going on with you mentally, and they give you some facts. They've gone to school, they study this stuff. Many of them are very, very good. And they tell you, they give you the facts on what you're experiencing and you deny it. See, that's mental illness. And many Jehovah's Witnesses, not many, but 99% of them, they deny basic facts. They're incapable of doing any research. Now think about that. You know, persons that is intelligent, on the ball, they're capable of doing research in drawing their own personal conclusions, reaching their own personal conclusions. I mean, that's what a stable, mentally stable person would do. You would do research on things that could be making a problem in your life, and you would draw personal conclusions. Uh, so that's another thing that shows me that they can't be thinking straight. And how about no basic respect for others? There's no basic respect for personal lives of other people. That's true.
Absolutely.
And I don't want to beat this subject here to death, but you know, even I can only relate. I'm not a Jehovah's Witness now. I'm never going back to be one of Jehovah's Witnesses. But I can remember, you know, it's not that I dislike people, but I didn't really have respect for other people, especially people that were out of the organization, people who weren't Jehovah's Witnesses.
We called them worldly.
They-
We actually had words for these people. We grouped them together and called them worldly. And if someone was worldly, that was BAD, bad.
Yeah, you got that one, Susan. So, you know, and then another thing I got thinking too when I was doing our program here for this, you know, the Jehovah's Witnesses, they don't have any respect for a person that's not one of Jehovah's Witnesses. And then also, I could even carry that another step further. How about even respect for fellow witnesses? Now that's even another thing. They kind of disrespected other witnesses too, with all their gossip and talk about people. So you know, it's a weird organization to be in. And another thing too, a Jehovah's Witness. If you've been one, you know what I'm talking about. Constantly try to induce negativity on others. Oh, well, what do I mean by that?
Yeah.
Constantly trying to induce negativity on others. Well, we all walked around when I was in field service. Well, we learned it in the service meeting. We had a certain pitch, a certain little sermon that we would use at the door. And I can remember one of the sermons that I used to use was you would start, and I learned this in the service meeting. I didn't come up with this myself. I learned this in the service meeting. And what you did is in the service meeting, I remember they said, what you want to do, walk up to a home, a householder, and you start the conversation off with, oh, did you hear about that murder a couple of towns over? You know, 3 people got murdered last night. And don't you think the world is getting bad? So they wanted you to start off with negativity. And then you'd say, well, you know, it's going to get better. God is going to make a paradise. So you start off with a negative, and then you bring the positive or the good stuff in. And not only that, even among witnesses, they induce negativity. Yeah, Armageddon's coming. Oh, isn't it going to be? Oh, it's going to be terrible. We got to get ready. We got to get our go bags ready. We better make sure that we're really following what Jehovah wants us to do. So it's always a negative message. Who wants to be around that? You want to live in a negative world? I'd rather live in a positive world. I don't know about you. But, you know, then the other thing, I mean, I'm sure you guys got thoughts on this too, but I'm trying to pick a few things out of the hat here that completely is disturbing to me and Susan. Now, how about Jehovah's Witnesses know without any question of a doubt that there is child sexual abuse in the Watchtower organization. Now, to any normal, mentally stable person hearing that, their antenna would go up. What? Yeah, sexual abuse. And the Jehovah's Witnesses, they're seeing this. They can't be totally oblivious to it. So they're just denying it or pushing it under the carpet. That's mental illness. There's something wrong. Little children are being abused, and witnesses are turning away from it all. Come on, they are blind to it. It's got to be, I don't know what you'd call it, but there's all kinds of mental illnesses. But that's a mental illness, and they are completely lobotomatized and incapable of finding confusion and ambiguous material in the Watchtower publications. That's one of the things that led me to the exit door of the Kingdom Hall. I was starting to find ambiguous statements in thoughts, narratives in the Watchtower publications that were just confusing me. The overlapping generation, and they kept moving the goalposts, confusion over, where Russell came from and how he was involved in so many occult practices. I was getting confused by all of this, but it led me out of it. But you have witnesses today that they're incapable of finding any confusion in the Watchtower publications. And not only that, I could go on all night. You could too. And another thing that I think is very important for every single person listening to this broadcast tonight, you have to have a personal goal. Do you have a personal goal? That is a mental healthy state to be in when you have a personal goal. And it doesn't have to always revolve around money. It doesn't have to revolve around vacations and safari trips to Africa. Personal goals can be, I'm really going to make myself a better person. I want to be able to communicate better with people, whatever the goal would be.
A better father, a better mother.
Yeah, Susan, stuff like that.
A better father, a better mother, a better child. There's just so many little things that most normal people want to use as a goal.
And the thing is, many Jehovah's Witnesses do not have any goals at all. And no, let me just stop there for a second. And we've talked about this on the 6 screens. How many times have you been in service? See, the Watchtower people, the Jehovah's Witnesses, they almost have a sense of entitlement. And really. And do you like people that have a sense of entitlement? Nobody really is entitled to anything.
I'm a pioneer.
Yeah.
I'm a pioneer. I deserve respect. I'm a ministerial servant now. You have to listen to me. I deserve respect. That's how the Watchtower works. It's all depending upon your position.
Well, that's right, Susan. So, many of these people, the reason why they don't have a goal is because they feel they're entitled. Oh, you're saying, well, I don't know what you're saying, Rick. Well, let me tell you, how many times have you been in service and you're walking down the street and you're in a neighborhood that has really expensive houses, more than the average neighborhood. It's really nice, expensive houses. So I've heard this, I've had to hear it at least 20 times as a witness in the 50 years I was in. So you're walking down the street, you see this beautiful house. And so the witness will say, you see that house over there, Brother Farron? That's where I'm going to live after Armageddon. That's my house. And, I was trying to be realistic here. And I would say, well, what makes you think that some other Jehovah's Witness doesn't want that house? So what are you going to do? Have a fight over it? I mean, what makes you feel entitled that you're going to have that house? And they would just kind of fluff it off somehow. But you've heard it, so that's a form of entitlement. So when you have an organization that kind of allows for that way of thinking, what you have here is people with no goals. You really don't. Rather than, I would have rather heard the person say, Rick, I'd like to live in a house like this myself. I might have to take a second job to do it. I might have to do that. I never heard that. Or I'm going to work a little bit harder. Or I'm going to get a better career. Did you ever hear that? I never did. They had a sense of, that's my house. That's my house after Armageddon. Well, I wanted to bring these things up tonight. And maybe you guys can think of some other things as well. But I wanted to just bring this thought to your mind. Now, again, I'm saying it could be a form of mental illness. And there's many different types of mental illness. I mean, we could spend all night on that subject alone. But I got to look at I got back into AI. I love AI. So I'm asking AI today, is it possible that a high control religious group or religious cult can cause significant mental health issues? Well, I was just flabbergasted when I got the answer back. So yes, it came back. Members frequently experience severe anxiety, depression, complex trauma, PTSD, and phobias as a result of prolonged isolation. Well, wait a minute. Prolonged isolation. Well, when we were Jehovah's Witnesses, whether you want to believe it or not, we were isolated. We were in prolonged isolation.
From real people.
From real people, Susan, right?
Right. From real people. Anyone that was worldly, which means not a Jehovah's Witness, we were isolated from them. Not allowed to talk, not allowed to have any kind of like, hello, how are you, to a neighbor. You weren't allowed to do that.
No communication at all. So what you have here is AI understands that a high control group, religious control group, can make you mental. So, my thoughts here are not far-fetched. All kinds of emotional distress. How about phobia? A phobia. What is a phobia? Well, it's an extreme, uncontrollable, and irrational fear of specific objects, situations, or activity. Do Jehovah's Witnesses have phobias?
Absolutely.
Absolutely, they do.
Everything's demonized.
Everything's demonized, and fear of apostates, fear of, someone's going to, do something to me because I'm a Jehovah's Witness, whatever it would be. So we have all of these dangers of being one of Jehovah's Witnesses, and it's really not exaggerated. Many of these witnesses suffer from anxiety disorders, chronic. Now here's one here. Here's one here that I got to say that everybody listening to this program tonight, there isn't anyone that is exempt. Everyone has suffered from some type of a chronic shame and guilt complex. Cults frequently condition members to blame themselves for the group's failures or the leader's dissatisfaction. Dick brought it up, the Aiken syndrome. This could drive a person mentally insane. You just heard him on the program before this one. If you were in a group and the whole group all of a sudden starts doing bad, and the organization, say the Kingdom Hall, was experiencing some type of a spiritual sickness because people weren't showing up as much, they would call it the Aiken syndrome. And somebody in this Kingdom Hall is causing it. So everyone there's thinking, could it be me? I mean, talk about guilt. Oh my goodness.
They might even send the circuit. They might even send the circuit overseer to look at the book, so to speak, see who's going out in service, who's not, what's going on, because someone here is doing something wrong, or somebody or some group.
Is that any way to live? Oh, I mean, really, when you were Jehovah's Witness, did you feel guilt? Oh, my goodness. Every day of the week, it was too much. All kinds of anxiety disorders. We could go on and on. I'm not going to do it, but I'm just going to bring up a few other things here that would be of interest. Psychotic disorders, according to what I'm reading here, by being in a high control group, you can have a psychotic disorder. Oh, that can be some of the worst mental illness problems you could be suffering from. It's a severely distorted awareness and thinking. Schizophrenia is the most well-known psychotic disorder and is characterized by hallucinations. Now, as a witness, I never had an hallucination. Maybe you have. I hope you haven't. Was I delusional? Well, at times I might have been. I think all of us were. And how about disordered thinking? Well, we never thought for ourselves. Yeah, we never thought for ourselves, right? We always let the Watchtower do our thinking. Now, this is the one, everyone knows this. You knew someone in your Kingdom Hall. You can connect with this, maybe even yourself. People who are in high control groups, people suffering some type of a mental disorder, have eating disorders. Now, friends, I'm not in any way demeaning any of these orders that anyone might have. It would be a terrible thing. And I don't know how it would be, because a lot of these things I've never experienced. But I do understand that hopefully those that do have these disorders can get help with it. But being one of Jehovah's Witnesses certainly has not helped. How about, as I say, the eating disorders? These are characterized by abnormal or disturbed eating habits that negatively impact physical and mental health. And I'll give you some examples. You know them anyways. It would be, anorexia, nervosa, bulimia nervosa, binge eating. All of these are mental conditions. And I knew, I'll tell you what, I had a girl, Jehovah's Witness, well, a woman really, and she worked for me. And she was as skinny as could be. And she'd go to Wendy's a lot for lunch. And she'd come back with a big hamburger, a big large shake, big order of French fries. And I'd say, Debbie, how can you eat all this food and still be so thin? And I did not know it. And then when we found out she died, and some of the findings were brought up about her eating disorders. And she was a devout Jehovah's Witness. Now, I'm not saying all Jehovah's Witnesses have eating disorders, but these are the things, and you've probably seen them yourself. So, anyone want to add anything to this list? Is there anything that you can say here that you can conclude that Jehovah's Witnesses have some type of a mental disorder? Anything you want to bring into the equation? Go ahead. You're on with us.
Hey, Rick.
Yeah.
Hey, Rick. This is Gilbert, and you're absolutely right. Jehovah's Witnesses are mentally diseased, and Jesus said that you speak in illustrations so people can understand. So if you would just let me, I'll do it real quick. I'm going to give you 3 illustrations to explain to you that everything you're saying is true. The Jehovah's Witnesses are mentally sick. In the political world, there's people who they have derangement syndromes whenever there's a new president. So today the president is Trump, so they call this Trump derangement syndrome. Others are Obama derangement syndrome. So it doesn't really matter. The point is we see these people. They hate the president so much that they take it out on you because you may like the president. And they don't want to talk to you. They excommunicate you from their circle. They're deranged, and they go out and they're deranged people. And you're like, hey, can't you just continue living your life without being deranged about what the whoever president of the United States at whatever given time is? No. And that has to do with the thing called tribalism. So in America today, we see people who suffer from derangement syndrome. I'm telling you that the Jehovah's Witnesses have ASD, apostate derangement syndrome, ADS, apostate. You see, Rick, they hate you so much that you can't be right. There's nothing Rick Farron could ever say, and they hate you and they're deranged. Now, I've been saying this since the beginning of time, and this is point 2. That ever since I left the Jehovah's Witnesses, I remind everybody, Yoda is telling Luke Skywalker, and he says, I'm not afraid. And he goes, no. He's telling him, I sense much fear in you. And he goes, fear is the path to the dark side. Fear leads to anger leads to hate, and hate leads to suffering. The Jehovah's Witnesses suffer because their whole body is consumed with hate, cancer. See, the whole body of the Jehovah's Witness is cancerous. It's called hate. They hate the Catholics. They hate America. They hate Christmas. You name it, they're hateful. And because of that, they suffer. But the cancer is the hate. And the last point 3 is I've been telling everybody since the beginning of 2016 when I've been doing videos that Alcoholics Anonymous, because I went there, I've never been an alcoholic, but I went there and I learned that they are the best little religion in the world, because they say, hi, my name is Gilbert. I'm a very hateful person. Now, you may say I'm an alcoholic. That's fine. But the point is that you admit that you're hateful and you have cancer. The governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses have done videos, I've even done videos on it, where they tell you that that they're not wrong. They tell you that they didn't lie. We just made a mistake. The Jehovah's Witnesses are like alcoholics that can never admit that they hate Christmas. They hate Catholics. They hate America. They can't. And because Jehovah's Witnesses can't do that, they stay with a cancer that's called hate. And that's why they're mentally deranged. And their tribalism, like the Trump derangement syndrome. In this case, the apostate derangement syndrome. They're in a tribe. And everybody outside of the tribe is the devil. So those 3 points, Rick, and we'll have a test next week to see if people still remember. And, because usually this is the great thing about the Rick Farron Show. People take notes. It's such great information. You learn more in the Rick Farron Show than you do in 3 days of assemblies in Watchtower convention.
Oh. Well, you're always making me look good, Gilbert. I appreciate it. I really do. So thank you.
About those 3 points.
I think you're right on. I think that you were. I believe that you're kind of ahead of your time. I think that you could probably get a job helping ChatGPT.
Yeah, and Rick, really, at the end of the day, just admit it. Just raise up your hand. If you're a Jehovah's Witness, just raise up your hand and just admit it. And once you start admitting that you hate everybody, then you'll get on the road to recovery.
Well, good for you. Well, that's a sensible narrative, a sensible way of bringing things together here tonight. Thank you. Always good to hear from you. Yes.
Oh, thank you, Rick.
Yes. Well, my goodness. Well, I'll tell you what, boy, we are noticing some big numbers coming in tonight. And this is good because more and more people are leaving the Watchtower. Well, I'm going to bring on, in just a couple of minutes here, I'm going to bring him on. Seth, if you want to go do something, that's fine. I'll give you 2 minutes and bring you on here. And anyways, what I wanted to say is the Watchtower organization, I can remember my mother. I'm talking about back in the 1970s, and she was a very loyal Jehovah's Witness. And she actually told me back then that the Watchtower is constantly being investigated by the FBI. But she never told me why. I was just a younger person at the time, but I never really knew why they were being investigated. So as we started doing our 6 Screens programs, numerous people have called in here and have mentioned to me that they had some inside information about the Watchtower being investigated by the FBI or Department of Justice or whoever. And, we never really had any real sound proof of it. We had a program on here, one of our very first programs, and you're going to roll the clock back about 20 years ago. And the name of the program is called Victims Speak Out. It was a program here on the Six Screens Tele Network. And there was a woman on the program. Her name was Mary Aguilar. Now, I'll tell you something. She was a former Jehovah's Witness, and she actually was an actress in the Sopranos, in the Netflix Sopranos program. And she came on, and everybody knew Mary Aguilar. She had a very popular program here on the Six Screens. And she had a man that was working with her who claimed there was all types of investigations taking place in the Watchtower concerning all of their evil acts. And she just started talking about the pedophilia and how they actually even one man said that the Watchtower tried to kill him. So, I mean, but these are, these are the claims they made. I allow everyone to have a voice here on the Six Screens. So last week, if you were listening in, we had a young man. His name was Seth, and he's out of Missouri. And he came on, and he's a sharp young guy, and he talked about some things that he wanted us to hear, but he was kind of tiptoeing through the tulips. He didn't want to go too deep into it. So he said, I'm going to come on next week and kind of arrange it in such a way so that it's done in a way that's not going to create any issues. So let's bring Seth on right now and add him to the stage. Hello, Seth.
Hey, how's it going?
Well, there you are, my goodness, and live and in person with us tonight. Good to have you, Seth.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
So anyways, you got a lot of people kind of scratching their head here and looking back and thinking about these things. So let's go step by step here.
All right.
Fill the audience in on what took place with you and these officials in the last couple of weeks.
So I am still going to tiptoe just a little bit. I have spoken to some representatives and some legal counsel as well. But I've spoken. I think it was going back a few weeks ago. We had an event here in the Queen City of the Ozarks, and during this event, I got to meet our current representative for my district, a representative running for that seat in my district. I got to meet two former governors, and one of the governors was the former Attorney General of the United States. I got to speak to the current Missouri Attorney General, and a few others, the mayors of the city I live in. I got to talk to the current mayor and the former mayor. And as I got them kind of, into little areas, I talked to them one-on-one. I'd have an icebreaker joke or whatever and just start talking to them. And I would bring up about being a former Jehovah's Witness. I would bring up how how excited it was to meet them. I would used to have to shun them, and they were, huh? What do you mean? So I discussed a little bit with them about what that means. And so I got to a few of them, and I was very direct. I said, I was asked specifically by congregation elders here in Missouri to cover over or act like I didn't have any knowledge of, and don't go to the police for a CSA issue. And it never went to court. It never, it was always hidden. And I was asked directly by the elders. Well, the elders asked me. I took that as Jehovah telling me, shh, be quiet. Till much later on, I woke up more, So that was probably around 2015 when I was asked to do that. So I got to asking one of the politicians that I got to meet in particular. I got to asking him about, because he was high up. He served under President Bush as the Attorney General of the United States. And so I got to talk with him, and he winked at me and he said, don't be surprised. This has been a 20, 30-year investigation, and specifically with the CSA issue. But also on top of that, there was some blood doctrine issues that did come up. That was on the lower tier of things, believe it or not. But tax evasion by Watchtower. And so they're being investigated for that. Now, I can't go into a whole lot more detail than the covering as of right now. I am speaking with a representative quite closely, one of the more local representatives here in Missouri. I am working with them quite closely and quietly, and so I can't share a whole lot about that. But what I can say is they're ready to, not just JWs, they're ready to put the crush on tax-free religions for ones like the Mormons and the 2x2s and anyone who is considered a cult because of their shunning practices. So he said, you may see reversals in that. We kind of seen a little bit of it. We haven't seen enough yet. Some reversals, big time reversals. And obviously, you know, JWs are trying to go more mainstream now. Even since I left just at the beginning of January 2024 was my last meeting. We've seen some incredible changes even since then. You can have a beard, you can wear pants, you can accept your own blood, and the list goes on. It's just amazing how many things are coming down the line. So that's what I can share. What I can't share is exactly how long the process is going to take. But I did get a little bit of an update on that. There is currently legislation going through within the next year for here in Missouri. So I also got to talk with the mayors about the issue. I don't know if anyone remembers the protesting issue and then blocking the sidewalk. The mayor is putting his foot down, and I got invited to have a private meeting between the mayor and a representative of the Jehovah's Witnesses for the convention center here in town. And we've yet to find out what that's going to be, but I'm excited for it.
Well, that's amazing. Now, let me ask you this. You know, a lot of people, not everybody knows about Jehovah's Witnesses. In fact, I have talked to people. Have you ever heard of Jehovah's Witnesses? And I've actually got, I don't know too much about them. I've heard that a lot in my walk in life. So the government, though, knows who they are.
The government absolutely knows. The government makes, not one of the people I talked to had any questions as to who the group was or what the group believed. Not a single, even the new person running for the Congress seat, none of them ever asked either. I mean, everyone knew.
Well, what's of interest here, Seth, is, you know, I'm just thinking of words that stuck out as you were speaking, and you brought up shunning. So shunning is something that's disturbing the government. Am I correct in saying that?
That is correct. The shunning, the human rights, they're kind of patterning this next attack after what happened in Norway. How we hope it doesn't end up with the same result here in the United States. But they're kind of patterning it after what happened in Norway with the shunning policies.
Well, you know, I'm going to tell you something. Here in the Western world, we are, you know, we're a little more critical, at least from what I can understand, of people that want to be, you know, recognized, people who want to live a life and live and let be free. The Western world is more willing to go along with that, as we've noticed here in the last 10, 15 years. Everyone, according to our government and what I've seen, is being protected. Human rights is making a big commitment to make sure that people in America are all treated equal.
Right.
Now, and I've seen that. You know, this hasn't always been the way. Now, whether it's Donald Trump or whether it was Joe Biden, whoever brought this all into play, but human rights is becoming a major concern for many.
And that is the center of why I think I used the word tax evasion earlier, and that's not the right word. They are tax exempt, but they're trying to take that status back from being tax exempt because of the human rights issues. You can't be tax exempt and treat other humans the way that that they're treating them with the shunning policies. And so that is kind of, from my understanding, the crux of the issue right now. Of course, I mean, I don't have any contact with anyone other than my local representative and the mayors here in town. Right now, the rest of them, I did reach out to them again. I hope I hear back from them. I gave them my personal phone number. I'd like to hear more about what they think about the issue as well.
Well, I really am. Well, you got me thinking a lot here tonight. Back in it was actually 2000. It was actually back in 2003, 2004, somewhere around there. I actually had an opportunity to go meet with a Massachusetts senator, and I got a chance to spend a couple hours with him. And I was there with a group of Catholics, and it was down in Boston at his office. And I was there with some people from the Catholic group called SNAP, and they wanted to meet with this senator concerning the pedophilia in the Catholic Church. And I went in because I heard it was happening, so I kind of wanted to be involved with it myself. So I went down and I wanted to speak to the senator about what was going on in the Jehovah's Witness world. So he says, "Okay, Mr. Farron, I want to hear what you have to say." So I brought a book along with me showing how Jehovah's Witnesses involve themselves with shunning. And actually, to the point, I brought in an older Watchtower publication going all the way back to 1951 on how if the laws of the land permitted that a Jehovah's Witness could kill you. And I showed it right out of the Watchtower magazine. And he said, "Can I make a copy of that?" So he took the magazine, went to his copying machine and copied it. And he was so interested. Now he says, "Now let me tell you," he says, "shunning is not against the law." He says, even his own children, he told me, were kind of shunning him. He says, I'm a Catholic. It has nothing to do with Jehovah's Witnesses. He says, we can't make a law that people have to talk to one another. But what you just mentioned there, Seth, got me thinking. You hit him in the pocketbook. You hit him in the pocketbook.
Right.
In other words,
the whole issue isn't, you can't make someone not shun. The whole issue at that point is they're teaching you to shun. It's their doctrinal belief, and it's some congregations now play it as a conscience matter. But if you look at the material, you look at the publications, you listen to their videos, you talk to the elders, it is still a doctrinal matter as of right now.
Well, very good. Now so this is what you jarred my way of thinking loose here. Norway kind of missed the boat on this. I think here in America, I think money is more sacred here in America than other parts of the world. And the United States government, I mean, at least what I've seen here in the last couple of years, they're trying to make America prosperous for all. And, when you have people held back, beat up, shunned, treated like really badly, that's not a good thing for America. And even though you can't make a law that you have to talk to this person whether you like them or not, you can't do that. That's a person's free will. But you hit them in the pocketbook. You want to do that? We're going to tax you. Oh, I'll tell you what. That would stop the Watchtower.
That's right. That's the angle that they're heading at. If you want to make this a doctrine, you can keep it as a doctrine. I think that's where they're heading for it. But you're going to have to pay taxes because that's a human rights issue. That's not a doctrine that you get to decide. That is a human rights issue, and you cannot teach it and not be taxed. Now, if they do it on their own, that's a different issue. And I know that's kind of how it was walked through in Norway. And I know there's more to that story than what we know right now. And I hope more comes out. But I would like to see something like that happen here in the United States and the rest of the world, really, to follow that same pattern.
Well, I'll tell you now. Yeah, go ahead, caller. Yep.
Hi, Seth. This is Donald here from Texas. I have a
Hello.
question. How does this all play in with the stuff that you know without you having to spill the beans here on everything? But what I'm curious about is, some of these teachings that they teach actually goes against, human rights. For example, they teach that if you leave the religion, of course, they're going to shun you. But they also, they have a lot of teachings in there that violate our national rights. Like, for example, you can't worship or not worship. You can't run for office. You can't be involved in politics. If you're going to be involved in politics, they're going to kick you out of the organization.
Right.
They take away your rights as an American citizen that they shouldn't be doing. I mean, the Watchtower does this through some of their teachings. I'm just wondering what does the government think about all this? I mean, because they are violating people's American rights, human rights. A lot of rights are being violated. They say you have the right to leave the religion, but of course, if you leave, your family shuns you. Your family you get torn apart from your family. You get called an apostate, or you get dealt with in all kinds of ways. And the Watchtower is just pretty evil with this. I mean, they're pretty bad with this stuff. And so,
and you're exactly right about that. And so, what I personally, I can't speak for them because I didn't go into a lot of detail. I only got to talk with each one of them for maybe 5 to 10 minutes individually. I did not get to speak with them very long. But what I can say is that was my icebreaker. Is I would go up and say, "Hey, just a few years ago, I would not have been allowed to talk to you because you're a politician," and things like that. And so I always they were like, "Huh? What?" And you saw the shock on their face, and I kind of had to explain it. But I do think that many of them know the policy of Watchtower enough. They deal with the Watchtower. They deal with the Mormons. They deal with, all these other cult-like groups, religious cult. I'm not saying they're Jonestown groups or anything, but I am saying there's enough there. They deal with it. They have a clear understanding about what the thoughts and practices are. In fact, some of them may even be more up to date than what I am, and I pretty stay on top of things. I doubt that, but they could be. Who knows?
Well, what I wanted to bring up too, Seth, is going back to that senator that I went down to visit in Boston back in 2003, 2004. What concerns me, and I really love hearing the Watchtower under government investigation. But now this senator, like I say, I spent 2 hours with him, and a group of other people that had concerns about pedophilia, and of course
Right.
myself about shunning. Now, what he did, he was so concerned about it. He said, well, look he says, if this is an organizational practice, and it's just not the mind of one person enforcing shunning, he says, then you might have something to go on. He says, so the organization is like, it's a conspiracy, really. All of them work together to get people to be shunned when they don't want to be a Jehovah's Witness. I said, that's the case.
I
So he
think
said, well,
that's exactly the case right there, Rick. There's no doubt that it's there, and it's well documented that it is an organizational policy, and it still is. They may have relaxed some things, but it's still shunning. Just saying hello to somebody does not make it not shunning. You're still shunning that person. Nobody's going to say hello to me. Very few. Now there are a few who kind of do keep that conscience decision, and I'm not saying anything about the individual person, but as an organization, it is still a doctrinal policy.
Yeah, and so what got his attention, he was kind of concerned. Well, if it's just one elder, one official saying this, then there's not too much we can go on, he said. But if you can show that this is a conspiracy or it's a movement within the organization itself, and the powers to be are all in unison on this, He says, I think it deserves an investigation. So, I mean, I was just really so excited that, wow, the Watchtower is going to be, they're going to be examined. And then he
Right.
said, then he said to me, now this is going back then, that's like, 20 years ago. So then he said to me, he says, now look at, he says, what I'm going to do, he says, I want you to get a couple of ex-Jehovah's Witnesses that can come to Washington. He was going to bring me and a couple other people to Washington for a Senate congressional meeting, and talk to us. So he said, I want you to get this together. He says, I'm going to go now and speak with the powers to be, and we're going to have an arrangement where you're going to come here, and I want you to tell these other senators exactly what goes on in the Watchtower. Now, wouldn't you be excited about that?
Oh yeah. Oh
So-
yeah. That would
so
be.
I got in my car driving home. I was so excited and thinking, oh, this is it. We are gonna really put some kibosh here to the Watchtower.
Pedal to the
So
metal.
pedal to the metal, Susan says. So, anyways, I got back. I got a couple witnesses. I got a man right from where I live here that was molested as a child. Actually, he was molested at the world headquarters itself, and he summarized it. He sent me a summary. I had him. He was going to come down with me. I got some other people involved, and we were all. I said, "Now look at, be ready to go because they're gonna bring us down there." And then nothing ever happened. Someone put the kibosh to it. Now, this is my only concern when you're dealing with Watchtower and you're dealing with these mucky mucks
And the government.
and in the government and the cahoots. Look at this Epstein thing in itself. All the government officials that had pictures with Epstein and denying they had nothing to do with anything. And, all of these guys are in cahoots together and, we're not going to do this. Someone stopped us from going down there. So I hope this doesn't happen this time.
Sorry, I muted there. I hope it goes the exact same way. I hope it doesn't go that way, was what I mean. I hope this goes in the path that I think it's going. I don't have that knowledge as of right now, but I am hopeful. And with not only what I learned from this, and it's been a 20 to 30 year investigation with this particular claim from what I was told, a 20 to 30 year. Now, they should be nearing the end of that. But there's, what? In the world of politics, everything changes the next day. So it's kind of one of those things we can hope and pray that something happens. There's a lot of good people still trapped in that organization. There's a lot of wonderful, wonderful people who most of us were there at one point, who just don't know where to go. And so it's my prayer. And it's my hope, my sincerest hope that this does get national level attention and maybe draw some out.
Well, I'll be praying right along with you, Seth. I'll tell you that right now.
Absolutely.
So let's open up the lines. I'm sure there's some people out there that got some questions or some thoughts. So you've been listening in. We've got a young man here, and we certainly appreciate his efforts. My goodness, he's trying to really work hard to expose these guys.
Well, I've even thought about running for Congress myself just to put some exposing in there.
Well, if I lived in Missouri,
I'm not gonna
I'd give you my vote. I'll tell you that right now.
I'm not going to do that, but
let's
love
bring
my
up-
neighbor even in Washington, huh?
Well, let's bring a 614 in. Come on in, 614. Say hello to Seth.
Hello.
Howdy.
Okay. Rick, Seth?
Yep, the Seth. Yep.
I hear you.
Yeah. Okay. This is Michael. I don't know. Did you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I hear you just fine.
Okay. Yeah, I heard you talk about the government. Is Josh Hawley one of your representatives there?
Yeah, he's a senator. I've met him once a few years ago while I was still in.
Okay. Yeah. I'm good friends with John Newstead here in Ohio, and this is here's the trouble you have with government, and Rick touched on it. Outside influences, uses pedophilia to control government officials.
Right.
And it's right here in Ohio, big time, here in Columbus, because I used to work for Wexner, Leslie Wexner, and he's one of the guys who signed his power of attorney over to Jeffrey Epstein. I know a lot about this stuff, and when you're dealing with the government, you're dealing with a sick, I hate to say it, but you're dealing with some sick people that have been compromised to the hilt. So they'll tell you one thing out of one side of their mouth, but they're doing another thing out of the other.
Yeah,
So,
and that's kind of where
I
I'm at.
don't know.
I only got to speak with one current representative. Everybody else, they were former governors and former attorney generals. And I did speak with the current Missouri attorney general. She didn't seem like she wanted to do much about it, but the representative I did talk to, he's the only one that had current access to the current government. Everyone else was former. So give that what it is.
Yeah. If you remember just not too long ago in Pennsylvania, Shapiro, who was the attorney general at one time of Pennsylvania, he was on a rampage to get Jehovah's Witnesses. And from what I know, had them all locked up. He had 8 cases. And then he ran for governor and was going to be considered for vice president of the United States. But that investigation, even though they have evidence and everything, it just seemed to go away. You don't hear about it anymore. And Rick, you might know something about the one in New York where the woman from Brazil, that you just don't hear about that no more. I'm not going to accept anything less than $100 million or whatever, but you don't hear about it no more. Do you know what happened?
No, but I can theorize. What happened is in Barbara Anderson has been on numerous times, and she has her own program here on our network. And she was talking about all of these settlements that are made outside of court. Now, we hear of court cases all the time. Every time I'm going over JW World News, every week I hear another court case I dig up. But a lot of these are settled out of court. Now, I don't know if she would have got $100 million, but if a woman suing that much and Watchtower shows up with 8-10 million, I'm sure she'd be advised to take it, and it could all be done outside the courthouse. Unreal, huh?
Yeah,
Quite
it is.
sad.
And I had high aspects for this woman because she didn't want the money, but she wanted to expose the Watchtower. But all of a sudden, like I said, you don't hear about the case anymore, and it never came to trial.
Yeah, well, you got a good point there, Michael. I'm serious, but everyone, we got a lot of people listening to this program here tonight, and I would believe that most people are in unison with all of this. We know. Look at what even Trump called, when he was running for office. It's a swamp. It's a swamp. The world of business is bad enough dealing in, but you get into government, it's brutal. And they work together in cahoots. But no, something Seth brought up here tonight that got me thinking this might get some traction. What he brought up tonight, and it has to do with the changes that are taking place in America with human rights. Everybody, and I agree with human rights. Everybody has rights. They can do whatever they want. They can be whoever they want. There should be no discrimination. Everybody should be treated equal. I agree 1,000% with that. And, under that basis alone, shunning does not in any way be good for anyone who is looking for human rights.
No, just the opposite. In fact, it only, people get lonely and then they do certain things that, someone not being shunned wouldn't do. And I'm not going to mention that in the program, but we all know what it is. And there's more cases of that than what we even know. We hear some documented cases, but it's further than that. And even more than that, everybody has thought process. Their thought processes are different. I know when I first left, I don't have any family that are on the inside. All the family I had, I mean, I have in-laws and ones like that, but all the family I have died before I left. So I didn't deal with that nowhere near as much, but I see someone who like my wife who suffers with her family shunning her, and it's a psychological suffering that it's a really vicious thing. And I lost all my friends, so I can kind of go there. I get lost my spiritual family. I get it to a level, but to have your physical family, your moms, your dads, your children, and I've talked to several and who lost their children, and several who are watching this program now lost their children, and their children are shunning them, and that's something. It's just I want to burst into tears right now. There's no words for it. It's not a human. It's nothing any human should go through. So it is a human rights issue.
In fact, the Constitution.
Not to be paid for by the taxpayer. That's the key.
Right.
You believe what you want, but we don't have to pay for it.
We're all of us, the Constitution, we're all supposed to have life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Those are all something that we are, according to our Constitution, are supposed to have a part of. And by being disfellowshipped, we have no happiness. There's nothing positive about it.
No, we lost our right to happiness. Hey, 603, I think that's New Hampshire. Come on in, New Hampshire. 630. I'm sorry, I'm looking. I got it mixed up here. A little dyslexia going on here tonight. Let's go with 630. Who's that?
Hey, Rick, how you doing? It's Mark Taft. How are you?
I'm
How's
good.
it going, Rick?
I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah. I'm glad you're doing well. I was listening to your show for a little bit on Facebook when you're doing the show on Facebook Live. It was pretty good, but I thought I'd give you a call in and let you know in the last couple of weeks I have seen some of your, Facebook video, shows that, the Citrine Watchtower, on Facebook, a few of your shows, and about maybe 10 minutes of them. They were actually very good, Rick, and I listened for what I could for the time I had. But I got to tell you, Rick, you're doing a great job. You're doing a totally awesome job. You're reaching out to a lot of people, especially all the XJWs, and you've reached out to me in every good and positive way. And thank you, Rick. You've really done a totally awesome job in that, both you and Sue. And hey, man, God bless you in every way for being such a big help to a lot of people and reaching out to everyone. And and just let everybody know who the Jehovah's Witnesses really are and who the hell the Watchtower people and the governing body really, really are, because the world needs to know, Rick, and you've done a hell of a job. So I give you 2 thumbs up and 600 stars, man. Keep going, Rick.
Well, thank you. Well, let me ask you a question. Now we have a young man on. We have a young man on here, and he's sharing with us that the Watchtower right now is under investigation by the federal government. What do you think about that, Mark?
Well, it doesn't surprise me, Rick. It doesn't surprise me at all. But yeah, I was listening to that when I was watching it just a few minutes ago on Facebook. And yeah, I was listening very carefully. It sounded very interesting, but it doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me at all. But I think overall that's a really good thing because the Jehovah's Witnesses should have been investigated back in 1975, if not even before that. So it's about time the government investigated them. I think that's a very, very good thing, Rick. It's about time they did and find out who in the hell they really are. All of them, the whole organization, the governing body, Bethel, all the Jehovah's Witnesses, people need to know. People need to know, the whole world needs to know before they wind up falling into that cult, which we know is going to be a major mistake for anyone, right?
Oh, you got it, Mark. Well, I tell you what, I really appreciate your enthusiasm. You don't have a soft spot from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet for the Jehovah's Witnesses. Yeah.
No,
well,
absolutely not. I have no respect at all for any of them, Rick. They're no good. They never were any good. I had no respect of them for any of the Jehovah's Witnesses or the Watchtower Society or any Jehovah's Witness anything since I was pretty much 7 years old. Because I even at that age was catching on that something about this religion is not right. There's a lot of things about this religion that's just not right. And a lot of it was just not making any real sense. It wasn't making any real sense at all. Just the way they would be, controlling their people the way they do, and they bully and abuse their people. It's just horrible. And I'm just thinking, it's horrible.
I always people that their religion is like North Korea.
Well, you're right, Donald. It is
I'm
like
sorry?
he says that
I always tell people that their religion is exactly like North Korea.
I would agree.
Yeah.
That's a good point, sir. That's a very strong point. I like that. I like that a lot. You're right about that, or even Russia for that matter. They've got, they could be along lines of some ways like Russia too. So yeah.
Well, Mark, it's always good to hear from you, Mark. Hang in there.
Thank you.
And you called me a couple of times. I couldn't answer because I was in the car, but
That's what I understand.
you go back and forth. But I'll talk to you this week sometime, okay?
Yeah, that'll be fine. We'll talk this week. And Sue's right there. Hey, Sue, how you doing? Hope you're doing well.
Well, thank you, Mark.
All right, there you
Yeah,
go.
it's great to hear from you. We talked a lot, but I hope you're doing well. You're doing a great job on the Six Streams show. Sue, keep going. You're doing good. And God bless you in every way.
You're
Yeah,
very
thank-
kind, Mark.
Thank you, Mark. All right.
You're very welcome. We'll talk in the future, Rick.
Thank you, Mark. Bye.
Rick?
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah, bye-bye.
This is Zachary. I don't hear you so well. I hope you can hear me.
Can you hear me now?
Okay.
Yeah, I can.
I hear you.
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to say that statement about Pennsylvania, those charges in Pennsylvania, that they may have fallen through the cracks. I don't think that's so. I remember you mentioned them about a year or two ago, and I started following them. I found 4. I thought it had increased to 9 or so, but on the Attorney General website, I tried to look there, and it's got a specific name. I know that when you mentioned them at first, Dave Shapiro must have been the Attorney General of Pennsylvania, and yes, he did run for governor and he won, but the office kept those cases going. So what I found was something from January 31st, 2025. There was a case update, and it says, Philadelphia Jehovah's Witness congregation member jailed up to 4 years for sexual abuse of a child. Then another hit that I got, I just put Jehovah into their website. And another hit I got is Westmoreland County man allegedly abused 2 children. Charges result from grand jury investigation of Jehovah's Witness congregation members. So that one's only mentioning charges after it's gone to the grand jury. Then another one, this is interesting because it's Allegheny County, which is where the witnesses started. It says Allegheny County man jailed up to 30 years for repeated sexual abuse of 2 children. And then, semicolon, charged after grand jury investigation of Jehovah's Witness congregation members. And then the last one that hit that I got was a case update. It says former Butler County Jehovah's Witness member sentenced up to 34 years in prison for sexually assaulting young child. So my search was Pennsylvania Attorney General and also Pennsylvania Attorney General Jehovah's Witnesses. And that's what I found, doing it quickly.
All right. Well, you're right. You're absolutely right. Shapiro was the first one that began looking into the child sex abuse in the Watchtower. And then, of course, he ran for vice president, and he gave.
He ran for governor.
He ran for governor. He didn't.
Oh, right. I'm sorry. Right. He ran. Right. He ran for governor. They were considering him for vice president. But what happened is when he ran for governor, of course, he wasn't the attorney general any longer. So they appointed a woman by the name of Michelle Henry. Now, she was a pit bull. Michelle Henry came on really strong, and she came out with numerous articles. In fact, even it was on national news that she was going to investigate the Jehovah's Witnesses, every congregation in Pennsylvania. How many congregations you think there were, Zachary?
I don't know, but I think in every state the number is decreasing.
Well, it is decreasing, but there was 500. 500.
Probably a couple hundred.
Yeah, 500. 500 congregations in Pennsylvania. And she says we're going to investigate every one of them. So it's going to take time. I believe they're still doing it. And that seems to be the pedophile congregation's capital of the world. And I had a woman that I talked to that, well, she told me exactly where it started. And it was in Eastern Pennsylvania. I know the particular congregation. I had relatives that went there. And she wouldn't tell me much more about it, but it was fascinating. And but to have 500 congregations under investigation, I mean, if you were, I mean, and if you were just even a rank and file Jehovah's Witness in one of these congregations, and you heard this, wouldn't you begin to at least start pointing some fingers at the elders? I mean, why are we being investigated? Yeah. Why are we being investigated? You know?
Yeah, you'd be concerned because if you're believing that Jehovah is directing these people, then that would make you start to wonder. Let me say this too. The name that you just gave, I do remember her, and she did keep it going. But for some reason, what I'm seeing here, the name I see as Attorney General, and I want to make sure I'm not overlooking anything, it says Dave Sunday. So there seems like there's a different person involved, and I don't know how aggressive that person is on this subject. That's the thing. See, she was working with Dave Shapiro. She was the what do you call them, deputy attorney general or the assistant attorney general. She was something like that, working with him. But this, I don't know if this is the same administration, so to speak.
Well, it could have changed, but I do think I do remember reading about that Sunday too. I think he's the assistant to her, but I'm not sure. But anyways, it's good that they at least are looking into it. It's good, Zach.
Yeah, it doesn't look. Yeah, it does not look like it was dropped through the cracks.
Good. Well, thank you. Okay, let's go over to. Well, let's see. We had did 925 want to come in? 925. Did they want to come in? You're on with us. You're with us. Go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Yes.
Can you hear me?
Oh, yes.
Oh, good. Okay, this is a pasta dude, and I gotta share some on this North Korea comparison. Now, picture me. I'm sitting in a Watchtower study, and they're going through the marvels of the coming rule of Christ. And prior that week or two, a lot of North Korean news was in there. And I had an interest in that. And so I was listening carefully to this thing where there was this large gathering where the dear leader of North Korea get everybody out to one room. And then he knew there was a traitor, right? And this book that was referred to, I think Pixie brought it up, is probably very revealing on that kind of tyranny. Saddam Hussein did the same thing. He marched out suspected people that were disloyal, and that was the last time I ever saw him. And there's really hardcore stories. So I'm in a Watchtower study about Jesus' rule, and all I did, and mind you, I'm all in, I have no agenda, I don't know anything about the real truth. So I make this comment about North Korea, and I go through all these little features, and it was just a typical comment. I mean, I just tried to tie together some news piece to the study, which was the polar opposite of what we would expect from Jesus. And after I finished, and I don't know, I wish I recorded what I said. At the end of what I said, you could hear a pin drop. The conductor was just sitting there dumbfounded because I had just described what happens to anybody who says anything against the governing body, you know. And it was an amazing moment. Yeah, everything. I'm not kidding you. And I didn't even know I was even trying to do that. You know, I never you know, how when you're in, you just bend your mind to believe that it's all the right thing because they're appointed by God. Well, you know, then when you wake up, you realize. And so that's a true story. I mean, I was sitting there going, what the hell did I just say? I mean, I thought they were going to come after me or something. So anyway, that's a true story, man. North Korea is a good comparison, spiritually speaking. I call them a spiritual North Korea.
Well, there you go. In fact, well, thank you. Donald will agree with you on that for sure. He wrote the book. Donald, you were there with us? Yeah. Well, Donald wrote a book.
I'm right here, Rick.
Yeah, give us the name of that book that you wrote. What's the name of it?
Oh gosh, haven't looked at it quite a while. The book I wrote was called a North. Oh God, let me go back and pull it up because I forgot the title myself.
Well, I'll tell you. No, you. But everyone, you know, I'll tell you what. We imagery or thinking like this. I always remember you talking about that book, and a lot of people totally agree with you. It is like North Korea.
It was written about how that the Watchtower religion is like North Korea. A North Korean regime in the United States, I think is what it's called.
That's right. That's what it's called. Well, thank you for calling in and you call it. Now, who else would like to speak up? We got Seth on here. Now, Seth is. Well, we're going to talk about a program he's going to be coming up here on the 6 Screens. He's going to have his own program on our network starting in 2 weeks. So let's just go here. All right. Well, let's talk about that program, Seth.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put this up. Now let me put this picture up before you say anything.
This picture is amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing.
You are talented.
So let's put that up
That's
here.
called
Right
Chat GPT, Susan. I did not do it.
Well, you put it together somehow.
Yeah, looks good. Now that's we're gonna have it's a 6 Screens presents the Kingdom Hall Chronicles. So that's starting in 2 weeks. Tell us about the Kingdom Hall Chronicles.
So everybody knows about the Kingdom Hall. Most of us have been there for more years than what we wanted to be. But if you ever one of Jehovah's Witnesses, you already know that there are enough strange, awkward, uncomfortable, sometimes absolutely hilarious stories that happen at the Kingdom Hall, happen out in field service, and you have enough stories to fill 900 episodes, really. Probably more than that, honestly. So a lot of XJW content is understandably serious. We talk a lot about shunning and fear and control and lost family and lost years and failed predictions and emotional damage that comes from leaving. And believe me, these conversations matter. They really do. They really matter. But I also think there's a lot of healing that comes from when we get to laugh together. So, you know, we're not going to laugh at people. That we're not laugh at individuals who are still trapped in the organization. But we don't want to make light of the pain that we all experience either. But we want to laugh at some of the bizarre situations that we may have lived through. Laughing at awkward field service moments. The strange comments at the meetings. Maybe a kid made a comment that was just so funny. Some of the local needs parts that just felt suspiciously specific. The elder who somehow knew everyone's business and that got around. All those moments we look back on. The silly things we've done in field service. And we look back, how is that considered normal? But we got a good laugh of it. I have an experience myself. I'm going to give a little teaser here about I was part of an American Sign Language group, and in my hall I was in the group. It was just a group, so they met with the English congregation, but I was assigned to carry microphones that week. So during the meeting, I knew this sister well. She was a deaf mute, and she raised her hand to comment, and I know because I'd done it a million times. She was supposed I was supposed to give the microphone to the interpreter. I've done it a million times before. And she raised her hand, and for something in me, it just wasn't clicking. I put that microphone right in front of her mouth for about 15 to 20 seconds. She's looking at me. Everyone starts laughing, and I didn't want Armageddon to come any faster. I was so ready for Armageddon to come. Now I can look back and laugh at that. But these are the kinds of things we need to share. We need to laugh a little bit. And we all have stories. We all have stories, and that's the beautiful part with it. We all have funny things that have happened. I could fill a book with a lot of funny things that have happened. So KH Chronicles will be a place probably maybe once a month or twice a month or something like that. We haven't really discussed the timing on this, but in 2 weeks, KH Chronicles will be a place where former witnesses can come to share funny stories that happen at the Kingdom Hall, or weird field service experiences, or the awkward conversations, convention disasters. We all had them. We all had something ridiculously funny happen to us at a convention. Strange illustrations from the platform and moments that still make you just sit back and think, you can't make this up. So they may be lighthearted stories, but the goal is not to mock the past necessarily, but the goal is to take back our ownership of our stories. Take back the ownership of the funny things that happen. And so we don't have to look at that anymore as oh gosh, that's ridiculous. We can say, ha, that's funny, and heal through laughter. Laughter is the best medicine. So if you ever had any mistakes or field service fails or a bizarre judicial committee, that something that's just funny, that lives rent-free in your head, this series is for you. So I really want people to call in, share their stories, laugh together. We need laughter. And hopefully we can remind each other that we're not alone. Sometimes healing looks like therapy sessions, and sometimes it looks like education and world news, or the JW World News Now. It looks like that. But sometimes it looks like laughter. Sometimes we laugh until we cry. And I really do think that's the best therapy. So that's what KH Chronicles is about. And I hope you watch, participate, and come and share a story of your own.
Well, I'll tell you, let's do a little sampling here tonight, Seth.
Sure.
A couple of minutes. Let's go to Chicago first. You might not have a funny story, but what are you thinking about Chicago?
Well, I will tell you just one thing. It's not per se a funny story, but it tied directly into the comment right before Seth started talking about this site. A comment that you gave at the meeting that seems to just shut the meeting down. But that week's Bible reading was that part of the New Testament where it talked about the Bereans. And so at the meeting, after all the other brothers and sisters went, I raised my hand to give my comment on what I learned and what I was appreciated about the Bible reading. And I said, society used to talk quite a bit about the Bereans. I said, they don't seem to do that much now. I said, but I think it's important to be reminded of the fact that we are supposed to be like the Bereans. And when something is presented to us, we are supposed to search the scriptures to make sure that what it is that's coming to us is actually in the scriptures, and only then do we accept it. And then I handed the mic back. Now, this is exactly what all the literature used to say about the Bereans. We're supposed to examine whatever according to the scriptures. Rick, I'm telling you, when I handed that mic, you could hear a pin drop. Some elders kind of turned and looked at me. The elder that was conducting the meeting, actually was the older minister of service. He looked extremely, obviously nervous. His eyeballs shot around between the elders as if he didn't know what he was supposed to do or what he was supposed to say. And I eventually I was thinking to myself, what is the big thing with that? I mean, that's exactly what we read 100 times in the literature about the Bereans. You're not supposed to accept it. You're supposed to analyze it from the scripture. And then it hit me, because that's precisely the opposite of what Watchtower does now. None of the stuff that they tell you is in the scriptures. And that's why when I brought that up, it freaked out the elders. Thanks, guys.
Well, very good. Well, thank you. Thank you very much, Stephen. So I'll tell you, in fact, could we do this even? Maybe some of the stories, Seth, won't be maybe not super, super funny, but I'm thinking of some bizarre, some of
right.
the most,
yeah, absolutely. Some bizarre things that happened. Some absolutely just what? makes you stop and say, what? Yeah, this is kind of a storytelling time where people can come together and really, keep it, semi brief so everyone gets a chance, but be able to laugh and to go, that happened? No way, some crazy things, because we could fill a book with those too.
Oh yeah, Bizarre. Well, that'd be part of the Kingdom Hall Chronicles because we all have Bizarre. But I'll tell you what, I'll throw something on. And when we got the phones lighting up here, can you stay in with us for a little bit?
Sure.
All right. Well, let's go over to 530. I think that's Dick and Constance.
Yeah, Rick, thank you. I heard a story. There was a family called the Balls, and they had been on vacation for 2 or 3 weeks, and their brother got up, I think it was for the announcements, and he saw them in the audience. I think there was 4 or 5 of them. And he said, "Oh, it's so wonderful that we have our balls with us tonight."
Well, you would think that he'd know better to say something. I mean, you would think that you'd. I mean, come on. I mean, that's just. I'm going to be careful how I say this, right?
Oh.
But he didn't do that. Jeez.
I knew brother. His last name was Hover, and his first name was Jay. He was brother Jay Hover, and it was so funny. Wow. Every comment he gave, it was the brothers would never miss it. Brother Jay Hover. They would mention his first name every time too. It was just too funny.
That's crazy. Who else has a funny story for Seth here tonight? Let's go with. Well, I see a bunch of people. Let's go with 213. 213. Go ahead.
Hey, Rick, how you doing?
I'm good.
It might be not really funny, but there was a pioneer sister in my congregation, and she was an elder's daughter, so they gave her all the praise and all that, and she was on stage giving an interview at the circuit assembly, and then everybody was kind of looking at her saying, "Wow, is she pregnant?" I mean, she was single and everything, and we said, "No, she can't be pregnant because she's a pioneer. They wouldn't let her be up there." Like a couple of weeks later, she was removed as pioneer and just fell upstairs.
She was pregnant.
But I didn't understand why would the world would they let her go up there?
Oh man. Well, how about this one? Rick, I was at a Kingdom Hall I went to for a little while, and this little boy, he was just the light of the room. He was always coming in. He was just everyone's delight. He was a funny little kid, probably 3-4 years old. And one day at the Watchtower meeting, he raised his hand, and the brother said, "Yeah, our young brother so-and-so," and went over there with a microphone. And the answer to the question, he said, "What's your answer?" And he said, "You got to have the faith, the faith, the faith. You got to have the faith, the faith, the faith." Oh, man. That was so funny, too. That was great.
Well, you got us all thinking now, Seth. But I have to tell you, I'm going to give you one here tonight. So, anyways, I was studying with these 2 men, and they were like in a group home, and they were actually in the 30s, at the time, but they were acting like they were 15 years old. So I was studying the Bible with them. And I did it regularly every week. So I invited them to come to the meeting, to the book study. So they wanted to go to the book study. So I brought them to the book study, and they were sitting there, and we had about 20 people that night, the book study. So we were studying the Greatest Man book. And one of the chapters in there was Jesus, walking along the Sea of Galilee and looking for fishermen. And so anyways, the study conductor says, "Now, what type of fish was Jesus looking for?" So, he's looking for people that will be that way disposed for the kingdom. And so the one I brought to the study, he raises his hand. "What type of fish was Jesus looking for?" And he says, "Trout." And I mean, and everybody just went ballistic. And then another time, and we'll have so many fun. We'll have a lot of fun with this program. Now, I mean, the meetings are stinky enough, but one night someone opened the door, whether they were an apostate or an opposer or what, but they threw a stink bomb into the Kingdom Hall. And I mean, you wanted to see you wanted to see a meeting abruptly end. Now, usually I've seen meetings go on, with the person even having a seizure, and they'd like the person off, and the meeting never skipped a beat. But I mean, when a stink bomb is thrown into the Kingdom Hall, I mean, it comes, everyone's rushing again. Couldn't stand the smell, the running outside. It was unbelievable. But we all have stories. We all have stories.
Oh, absolutely. You go back to our Zoom days, and I was still a witness during the pandemic. Go back to the Zoom days, and I had a really interesting setup. I didn't have a professional setup or even a laptop, so I rigged it to where I had my little karaoke machine, and it had an echo thing, but you could hear really good. And I was giving a talk, and as I did, my leg hit the corner of the knob that controls the echo, right as I was about to say, and Jehovah said, and my leg hit that knob, and I didn't hear it, but everyone else in the Zoom world started laughing. I said, "What?" I stopped in the middle of my talk. I said, "What are y'all laughing at? Can you hear me?" And they said, because it started out, somebody was was recording at that moment, and they sent me the video, and and Jehovah said, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa." It was echoing really bad. Oh man.
Oh, I'll tell you, it's going to be a great program.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
So it's going to be on in 2 weeks. You get someone else who wants to share a thought with it? Go ahead. Let's go with the other brother first, Dick, and then we'll bring you on. Go ahead. Who is it?
I just have a quick one. I never abandoned swearing. Swearing was just part of my vocabulary. I wouldn't say certain words, but you'd always hear a damn, a hell, and a couple other things for me if the situation merited it. And my then ex-wife would always just go into an apoplectic fit, if I said damn or something, and I would just ignore it. But anyway, we had to circuit over here. He's a much older gentleman. And somewhere in the middle of his talk, he says, "And if I ever meet Jesus, I'm going to ask him, where in the hell have you ever been?" And everybody's face dropped. I hit the floor laughing because what he was saying is that Jesus was in hell. And so he was going to ask Jesus, where in hell have you been? But what he said is, where in the hell have you been? And the whole congregation went silent. And then all you hear is me in the back just dying laughing. And my wife would look, my then wife would look at me because I was always swearing anyway. And she would get upset about it. And I was like, oh yeah, what are you going to say to the CL? He just said this across the platform. So that was just funny to me. Everybody laughed at it. The night kind of went on, but they were all in shock by that.
Oh yeah, well that would really make you laugh. There's no doubt about that one. Golly, Dick, what do you want to say?
Yeah, I remember a young brother, about 11 or 12 years old, was given a talk too, and it revolved around Jesus coming into Jerusalem on an ass. So he's reading the scripture leading up to that, and then he froze at the word ass, looked up, kind of terrified, and he went, "Jesus came on a donkey." And everybody he started snickering, and then some people were laughing, then the whole Kingdom Hall burst into laughing, and his poor brother thought, he read a word wrong or something, and he got off the stage. He was almost crying, but I do remember that. He said, instead of saying the word ass, he said donkey.
Yeah.
He just changed the scriptures.
Well, everyone's got a story to tell. So anyways, coming next, will be 2 weeks from tonight. 2 weeks from 2 weeks from tonight, we're going to go with the Kingdom Hall Chronicles.
Yeah,
and
come on in and write these down, friends. Write down some of these funny stories. That's your homework for the week. I know we don't assign a lot of homework here, but Rick, we got to have some homework this week. This is going to be great. It's going to be funny. It's going to be something where we can all come together, share a good laugh, share some good, interesting stories. It'll be wonderful, I think.
Yes, and that'll be in 2 weeks, 8:00 Eastern Standard Time, right after Dick and Constance's program. JW World News is going to be moved up. And the reason why we're moving JW World News up to 9:00 is what it is. A lot of people in the West Coast, it's early when it comes on. and they've been suggesting that if we came on a little later, then they'd be able to enjoy the JW World News. So you'll be coming on at 8 o'clock, and of course, he's coming in. Seth is coming in from Missouri. So, Seth, thank you very much too, and thank you for involving yourself
you.
with the government and working that through for us and sharing all of your thoughts on that. That
Yeah,
takes a lot.
I don't have all the answers right now, but I do appreciate you having me on, and I can share with you guys what I know now. I think it would be great to expose it fully, but until then, I think it'd be great to laugh and to smile too a little bit, to heal.
Well, very good, Seth. Now you say hello to your wife and
Will
let her
do.
know that we appreciate letting you spend the time here with us. And at any time she wants to come on with you, she certainly is welcome to come on. Okay.
Sounds great.
All right.
Bye,
You
guys.
have a good one. Good night now.
Bye,
Thank you.
Seth.
Yep. Well, there you go. That's Seth out of Missouri.
Yes.
I
What
mean,
a clever young man.
yes. And what we're doing here too with the 6 screen, Susan, you and I have talked about it. We're really trying to get this network fired up. Right now, our demographics, and I'll share this with you. You're all my friends listening. I have nothing to hide here. I'll talk to you. Now, here are the 6 screens. What we got is, we got a nice little network going. This is where ex-Jehovah's Witnesses come to talk. And, it's through a long time of doing this that it's now working out where people understand that. So what I'm thinking here as we move forward is a lot of the people who are listening in to the 6 screens, they're baby boomers. I'm a baby boomer. Susan's a baby boomer. And what it is our demographics are older people. Now, I'm not saying that in a demeaning way. I love being old. I don't want to go back to being 20. I'm happy being 78, by the way. 78, not 79. Dick was right. But anyways, what I want to say is this. We're trying to get a younger group of people coming in here. Now we do have some 20s. See what it is, YouTube, they give us the demographics of who listens in. And when you have a YouTube channel, you can see who's listening in, the analytics of the program and what have you. So we do have people listening in their 20s, people listening in their 30s, 40s, and 50s. But most of the people that listen into the 6 screens are 60-year-old people and up. Now, I
think that if we had younger people, they would benefit from the wisdom of their elders.
Yeah. So what Susan and I trying to put this together here is we're looking so Seth fits the
Demographic we're looking
he fits the whole program here because he's a young man. So hopefully we can start getting some younger ones. We got Diamond Dave too that hopefully in time he's going to be doing some programming here as well. So we're really going to make an effort to go after younger ones. Now, if you're listening into the 6 screens tonight and you would like to have a program, young or old, now, I want to listen to everybody, but young or old, anybody listening into the 6 screens tonight that would like to have a program here on the 6 screens, write me at jwworldnews@gmail.com. And we want to get you on. And we're now looking also at going all night long with programming as well. We're going to expand the network and we're going to try to really make it a really viable source of information from people just like you talking about your trek in the Watchtower. So by all means, if you can do it or you know someone that would like to do it, let them know there's an opportunity here at the 6 screens. So what do you want to say, Susan? Anything?
Thank you for listening with us tonight. We appreciate your support, and our program is you. If you call in, we have a program. If you don't call in, we don't have much of a program. So we really appreciate all the opinions and things that you add to what Rick and I have to say.
Yeah. So what I also wanted to talk about tonight on JW World News, and we've been talking about this right along now for the last few years, and what it has to do with, and you guys know it, everybody knows it, a lot of the youth is not staying in the organization, and not just young men, young men are not reaching out to be a ministerial servant. They're not reaching out for being an elder. They could give two hoots of beans about it. In fact, there's a lot of young men that are giving up their positions and saying, that's it. I don't want to be part of this organization anymore. So the Watchtower really has a demographic problem, and it has to do with young people wanting to step up and become, well, in their mind, responsible positions in the congregation have to be filled by young men, and they're not doing it. So, I got thinking, you hear a lot of this on Reddit. We even talk about it here in the Six Screens all the time. But what is the reason? What is the reason why young people are not stepping up to plate for the Watchtower? Why are they different than even, say, the baby boomers? I mean, when we were young men and young women in the organization, we were reaching out for every position we could possibly get our hands on. Every young man wanted to handle the mics, handle the sound, become a ministerial servant, then eventually become an elder. And every sister wanted to give good talks, wanted to become a pioneer. Oh, we all remember that. But those days are over. There really, really is. No one really seems to. No, not everybody, but most young ones today are not wanting to reach out. So what is the problem here? So we've come up with it's a generational explanation. It has to do with the generations. Now, Susan's done a little research on this, and she can kind of fill us in on these generations and what they would be and their ages and all of this. And we'll discuss it a little bit here tonight. So, Susan, we got a lot of young people. We'll call it generational reason, really. Well, what do you find here?
Well, Harvard did an amazing study, and it's a recent study. It's not old. And what they've done is they've taken people and divided them into generations due to the year that they were born. And there's weaknesses and positiveness in each generation. The generation, let's see, 1901 to 1927 is called the greatest generation. And I guess just because they were involved in World War I, doesn't talk too much about it. Then the next generation is called the silent generation, 1928 to 1945. And they call it the builders. They were building the United States. 1946 to 1964, Rick is talking about us, called the baby boomers. We were workaholics and were independent to a fault. Then after that is Gen X, 1965 to 1980. They're skeptical, cynical, and difficult to understand and work with. They have a different work ethic. Millennials, 1981 to 1996. They're burnout and stress prone. They're over reliant on validation of what they do, and they have financial instability. After that is Gen Z, 1997 to 2012. They have short attention spans. They have large amounts of anxiety, and they have comparison culture. They're always comparing what they do with other people. They struggle with communicating to other people what they do, who they are, what they are as people. Then after that is Gen Alpha, that's 2013 to 2025. They have a screen dependency, reduced social skills, and short attention spans.
All right, well, that's good, Susan. Now let me just bring us up to speed here. Now this is definition of all of these different generations from AI. Now I want to cut the young ones slack here. Every generation is different, and even as you study the generations, it's so easy for us all in the generation we're in now to pick on the generation behind us. And it's easy to do that, but there's a few things I'm going to bring up here. The generations behind us were quite good. And as we all progressed along, we acknowledge the greatest generation our mothers and fathers were in. But then also the generation that you're in presently, sometimes the generations that are coming in front, coming after us, where they get picked on a little bit. But I'm going to stand up for them tonight. I'm going to stand up for the generation that seems to be getting picked on a little bit. And I'm going to give you some reasons. I'm going to give you some reasons why they're even leaving the Watchtower. I'm going to give you an explanation. It doesn't all have to do with religious doctrine or telling me the truth. It doesn't have to all do with that. But just to give you a little understanding of the generations behind us, let's just get into why they're leaving the Jehovah's Witness organization. And the baby boomers were so eager to just swallow it all up.
They were out to pioneer and to answer the questions during the meeting, and they were going to be first out in service, and they were going to do this, that, and the other. They were very determined, and so it was easy for the Watchtower to maneuver them where they wanted them.
And we all followed it.
Yes,
we
did.
all followed it. Now remind yourself, we didn't have cell phones, we didn't have computers. We just followed the dictates of the Watchtower.
Unfortunately.
Yes. So what I wanted to bring up here too is talking about specific traits, as Susan was saying, that we find in every generation. Now, the generation that we came from, the baby boomers, we grew up, and everyone I think can remember these days of Leave It to Beaver and Father Knows Best, and good, wholesome television programming that we could all, there was a moral to it. We all walked away and we learned something. But as the years went along, the moral value of TV tanked. A lot of things came into play that really caused a lot of anxiety and a lot of problems among young people. And as the generations progressed along, a lot of the psychiatrists and psychologists who study these generations, they came up with various phenomena that they've seen the generations took after the baby boomers and after the greatest generation. We were different. We were different. The baby boomers were different than our parents. And even our parents would say, oh, you guys are into the Beatles? You guys are into Elvis Presley? You guys are wearing longer hair? I mean, all of this stuff. You heard it. And, they have and all generations would do that. And even the generation we're in now, we kind of do it. But I'm learning things here. The reason why people act differently in these generations, it's a different period of time. And one thing I'm coming to grips with, we were all kids at one time. And we have to remember, when you're a kid, you'll do some pretty crazy things, right? So, we're looking at young ones today and said, why are they doing this? Why are they doing that? They should look at, we've been on the track for a while. We know how things work. But these younger people, they haven't been on the track long enough. And they're learning. But, our parents said the same thing about us. But there's one thing I'm going to tell you about the generations coming after us, the baby boomers. They're a lot smarter. A lot smarter. They're different in many respects, but they're way smarter than we ever thought to be. And these ones, they are having certain positions they're taking in life that are different than what we had as baby boomers. Now, I have to speak that in many ways it's unfair to the young people today and what's happening to them. Now, I can remember when I first got married. I don't want to sound like some old dinosaur here, but I'm going to tell you, and you guys can touch base with this too. When we first got married years ago, all of us listening as baby boomers, you could just about buy a house making minimum wage. Yeah. Now, the minimum wage back in the 1960s, believe it or not, was like, $3 an hour.
Yeah.
And you could actually negotiate to buy a house. If you come up with a little down payment, you could actually buy a house. Now, in that, we could all have a little white picket fence with a nice little house, and we all had goals and desires. But these younger ones after us, they've been gypped. They really, really have. Well, how can they possibly even think about, look at the housing costs being so expensive. Really, there's people homeless all over the place today. Everywhere you look up here in Massachusetts, and I'm sure in the state you're in as well. And these guys, a lot of them falling through the cracks. Now, some I'm going to say it's their own fault. So I will say that. But many of them, they've lost the idea of having a nice little house, a nice little roof over their head. So their desires are different than the baby boomers. A lot of the young ones today, they want good memories, and they don't want to be trapped into the corporate world as we were all told to at one time get trapped into. So they have different ideals, they have different philosophies in life, but we have to accept that and understand it. And also, they're so much smarter. And this is one reason why they're leaving the Watchtower today. They're saying, I'm not gonna really be totally happy here. They want to be happy, and they know too that their grandparents, their parents have been talking about Armageddon coming, and the biggest problem for a false prophet is time, and too much time has gone by. These kids said, "Well, Grandpa was talking about it, Mom and Dad were talking about it. Where is it?" So they're leaving. They're leaving in droves. And I'm glad we could discuss this a little bit tonight. And I'm taking a different view of the younger ones. I really, really am. I'm gonna, because I'll tell you what. Uh, I have a business. You guys know that. As a matter of fact, I had a young man come in today. I haven't even told Susan this when I come home, but a young man came in today. It was pouring rain. Came into my office, and he wanted to talk to me. He came in. And he said, "Sir," he says, "I just wanted to come in. I saw you were open today, and I was hoping you might have a job for me." I says, "Well, what have you done?" And he was an Asian, a young Asian man. He says, "Well," he says, I've worked at 7-Eleven. I can do cashier type work." He says, "But I want to be honest with you." He says, "I'm homeless." Now, I don't know how many people I've talked to in the last year that are homeless people and looking for work. And geez, he was a fine young man. And he says, "I don't even know where I'm going to be sleeping tonight." But he says, "I really need a job." So, I talked with him, and it's sad. And as I was leaving work today, I'm saying, this is, these guys, many of them don't have a fighting chance. And he was telling me, it's so hard. He says, even getting a job at 7-Eleven. I mean, when you and I were young, think about it. You could walk into 7-Eleven. You didn't have to fill out all kinds of applications. You didn't have to give resumes. You didn't have to have a great credit record.
Or a drug test.
A drug test. So these guys, I mean, we usually just walk into a company, talk to a person like this man did today. You're hired. And you didn't have to fill out all this paperwork. These guys are living in a different world. So it's not a good thing in many respects, but I'm not trying to have them lose hope either. I'm just acknowledging that they're living in a different world. And that's exactly what the Watchtower is acknowledging too. They're not that they're rebellious. I think the baby boomers were more rebellious than the young ones today, to be quite frank. So they're not.
They compared some of these younger people to the 1930s people.
Yeah, you could put them kind of like in that category, couldn't you, Pixie?
And the book, The Fourth Turning, has 4 different generations that repeat over time. So the 60s people were more like the 1920s people, and the kids now are more like the 1930s people. They really don't have a lot of conflict with the parents. But the ones I'm meeting and the 40-year-olds, their families are going to save the day. When I meet a 40-year-old and they got a 40-year-old dad and he's got a little wifey and a couple kids, there are people with some really good, solid families that are coming up now. But some of these young teens now are almost in the Jane Austen time. They don't have a village anymore. but they live in a big old manor house. They live in one of these expensive houses, but the boys and girls are not dating or meeting. So you wonder in the next generation, the younger, like if they were 12 now, is their first date going to be arranged? And I'm talking about people that aren't religious. So it's very socially different.
Oh, it is, Pixie. In fact, this idea of, brings me to, well, why are the young ones leaving the Watchtower? Well, of course, like I said, they're smarter. They've got phones, they get internet, all that. But even beside that, what's happening here? Many of these young kids, if they were born into the Jehovah's Witness religion, they're really looking at the rules and the social cost of being one of Jehovah's Witness is unbearable. Unbearable.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. But the one thing I see among the worldly kids, but also the witness kids, you know how the witness kids weren't allowed to date? Well, now the young teens, they don't want to date.
Well, that
It's
is
very, very strange.
well, it is, that you're resonating with me because I am seeing that up front and
That's why
close.
I say Jane Austen, like the old movie where the girls are in the manor house having a tea party. Where are they ever going to find someone to marry? Because there's no dance in the village anymore. It's different.
I'll tell you now, just from my own experience here, and I've been dealing with some younger people and working with us down here at the business I've got, and I've got one young man. Well, I say young; he's 40 years old, but he's a good-looking guy, intelligent guy, very intelligent. No girlfriend. At first, I thought, well, maybe he's a gay man, but he's not.
Yeah.
He came out of the military. Was in the military for 8 years. He's got a good head on his shoulders. I says, well, John, why don't you have a girlfriend? I mean, you're a good-looking guy, but he just doesn't have the interest. Then I got another 20-year-old fellow that works with me. He's no girlfriend. No, they don't seem to. And then I ran into this guy at the bank, and at the kiosk bank, and you can drive up. Of course, you go and get your ATM. So he's got a beautiful Camaro. I told this story before, but I'll tell it again. He's got a beautiful black Camaro. I mean, really nice, and polishes it up. And so I met him. I see him at the bank all the time. So I got a good conversation with him. I says, that's quite a beautiful car you got there, and you polish it up. It looks so nice. I says, I'm just kidding with him. I said, that must be a chick magnet, must attract a lot of young girls. He said, oh, the girls aren't what they used to be. He says, they don't. he says, and it's summing up what you're saying, Pixie. So he says to me, no, they're not. I said, well, what do you mean the girls aren't the girls they used to be? He says, well, all they want is money. He said, before I even, the first thing I ask them, would you like to go out with me? They'll say, how much money do you make? I mean, really? So the whole world is changing, Pixie,
It's very, very different than this new group coming up is very, very different, even than the one previous to that. That sounded like
The conference has been locked.
That's the drunken Bethelites. They
someone has to that. That's pity, when your brain doesn't work and you have a neurological condition of that nature and you feel you have to cuss.
Yeah, it's yes, Jesse.
Hey, I wanted to echo what Pixie said about the 40-year-old, and I'm with her. My experience was in reverse. When I was 40 years old, I was an elder in the Spanish, and this one time, and I started my business when I was 24, and not just out of necessity. And the circuit overseer named Mahel Raymond came into town, and he was a Cuban immigrant, and he hated America. I could just tell. And he made my life a living hell. And the elders told me, Jesse, he told him in a private meeting that he hates me because I'm a self-made man. I was a self-made man. And I told him I knew it. So the elders tried to keep me away from him. And he would use me to like serve him during the meetings, lunch. And one time in front of all the elders, I invited him to coffee and he goes, no, I'm too busy. And I told him, hey, you're not busy for my wife making you lunch, but you can't have a cup of coffee with me. But now it helped me wake up. It helped me wake up because I figured Jehovah likes a communist circuit overseer more than a hardworking Mexican, American capitalist. And I knew, I kind of woke up with him. I knew that they were changing. Like Pixie said, the men were different. Because when I was brought up in the 60s and 70s and my brothers before me, we were taught to work hard, be industrious, never take a handout, always give, never take. And now they were having leaders who were just a bunch of communist immigrants from Cuba. And they looked like Obama even. I mean, they were hardcore, skinny, little transvestite looking men.
Wild.
No, I'm serious. I'm serious. Look at the elders. They look like transvestite. We used to call them Purdy boys here in New York, California boys. They were metrosexual. They were nothing like what we were raised to think a man was. We were raised by the guys that fought World War II. All the elders in the Spanish congregation, they fought in Okinawa. They fought in North Korea. That's how they became United States citizens. They fought in the war, these Mexican braceros. They served their country. They became citizens, and then they learned the organization. They swooped them.
Jesse, if you know any Cuban Republicans, send them my way. Muy macho.
Yeah. But but I agree. The men have changed in the organization.
I think that's a cultural. I think that's a cultural thing in general with like how people are raised. Because I was born in 1989. I'm 37, right? And I mean, I was taught, like what it is to be a man. You get into bar fights. You pick fights with people. That sort of a thing. You don't dress like women. You don't wear makeup. You don't do those things, but now it's like socially acceptable in America. And it's really like a Western phenomenon. Like I moved to Mongolia last year. Men do not do that here. If you do that, you will be attacked. You could be killed on the street. You just don't do that.
I didn't get the joke that they look like Obama.
The next generation of 14-year-olds, I can remember that a lot of the teens for 2 or 3 generations, from Elvis all the way down to the Gen X punks, you get to be 14 or 15, you don't really know what a boy or girl is going to be, but you want to date. You want to meet somebody. This is like Jane Austen. They're watching Bridgerton. It's a wonderful show. It's a fantasy. It has all wonderful, good-looking people of all nationalities and beautiful velvet outfits. But that's what these 14-year-olds are sitting on the couch. There's no drive to leave the house. I can't explain it.
I didn't get the joke. I didn't get the joke about they look like Obama. I didn't see what was so funny. I missed it.
I think Obama was a handsome, elegant gentleman, but I think he meant they were skinny, because a lot of the people we think of in the old movies, like the men were more, they weren't gym built, but they weren't skinny like Hollywood picked these broad shoulder guys.
I still do miss the joke. I didn't get it. I don't get it.
I didn't think it was funny either, but I think he was talking about the metrosexuals in the skinny suits.
Don't help him out. Let him stand.
If it's not funny, I'm not going there. It's got to be funny for me to go there. But the 14-year-olds, they don't want to leave the house. It used to be you couldn't wait to get to be 16 or 17 so you could ride in the car. It's just different.
Well, it is different, Pixie, but I'll tell you what, in doing some of this research, so to speak, on the explanation why the younger ones are leaving the Watchtower. And I'll tell you what, if you grow up as a Jehovah's Witness, you're forced you're forced, even as a young person, you have no say about it. You have to listen to mom and dad. And I respect the fact that you have to. When you're young, you're living in mom and dad's house. So they force you to go to the meeting, and they punish you if you talk about not wanting to go anymore. So what they're doing is they're waiting till adulthood, and they got it all planned ahead of time. They're waiting to adulthood, and then they leave. And this is something that they're doing as soon as they can support themselves. Bye bye, mom and dad. Bye bye, Watchtower. You know.
I think too, some of their short attention spans come from computers, dealing with computers. A lot of the generations now, because they deal with computers all day long, it affects how they look at things, how they live. It says they have screen dependency and reduced social skills. I think because they're just dealing so much with the computer or their cell phone all day long, they don't have the social skills. They're sitting at a table at McDonald's and they're talking to the person across from them on their cell phone instead of talking to them for real. We've seen this.
Right now, but to say, it seems odd to us, and then let's come to grips with this here, all of us tonight. It's odd to all of us because we did not grow up in a world like this. I wouldn't know what it would be like to grow up today. You have in your hand the world. You have access to information that the baby boomers never had. So it's hard for us really to understand this. And there's many, I see it. A lot of the young people would rather text you than talk with you.
Yes.
They would rather send you a text than talk to you.
Even on the phone. They said, I'll text you instead of I'll
yeah,
call
no,
you.
no, I have now. I say, well, geez, at first I thought this is kind of, this is an odd thing, but it's not that odd. In the world that you live in today, you got to learn how to text. You got to, and not only that, but texting, especially today, it's so easy. I mean, it spells for you, it dictates for you. It's so easy to do, and the message is even more clear. So these guys are living in a time period that we had no idea of it because we never experienced it. So I'm gonna cut the. I'm gonna hold on one second. Hold on one second. Bixby, hold. Let me finish my statement. Okay. So I was gonna say what because they're living in a different time period than us. Doesn't mean I'm gonna cut them some slack. I'm gonna cut them some slack. It's just a different era, a new way of doing business. Go ahead, Pixie.
My concern is, civics is when you're concerned for your community and your local government. They don't have civics. They don't have an understanding of ethics. You can know all the history or all the facts from your phone. That's not wisdom. Knowledge and wisdom are different. And unless they've had a good granny, they're lacking the kitchen table wisdom, which is not the same as facts.
Well, I got you. I got you. I get where you're coming from. But I'll tell you, sometimes you don't have to have wisdom. Sometimes knowledge is enough. Sometimes you don't have to have all the wisdom. And I remember even Henry Ford. Here's the guy that really changed the course of America. In the Chicago Tribune back in the 1920s, they said it right in print that Henry Ford was not an intelligent man.
And he wasn't.
I think they called him an idiot, but I'm not for sure. I don't know that. But they said he was not an intelligent man. So he sued the Chicago Tribune. And so when he went to court, and his lawyer was there with him, and he said, to the judge and to the jury, I'm being accused of being like a stupid man. And the judge says, well, you gave him some questions to answer. And Henry Ford said, look, I might not have the answer, but I have men around me that know the answer. So, I mean, you might not have to have all the wisdom, But just having the knowledge that I'm around people that can answer that question sometimes can suffice. But you need some wisdom too, Dixie.
Well, he's smart enough to know who to have around him.
They don't want to be around the people that could steer them.
Well, that the point that makes them smart is they put people around them that know how to take care of things. As an example, Trump, he has so many things he's in charge of that he knows nothing about, maybe even the economy. So he uses people who do know, and he puts them together in his. So this is what he does, and that's what intelligent people do. They know where their weaknesses are. You must know where your weaknesses are.
Yeah. Well,
but these young people, they think because it's on their phone, they don't need to have a bevy of counselors.
Yeah.
Well, hey Rick, can I?
Yeah. Hold on. Let's say we got about 5 people want to come.
Go ahead.
We got 5 people want to come on at once. I'll call the area code out, and then go ahead, and then I'll keep calling the next one out. So right now I'm looking here at, let's see. All right, I was looking at. Let's go with Diamond Dave. Did you?
Oh, hey, cool. Yeah, hey, what's going on? Yeah, I was bouncing in and out, but I think it's interesting that Jehovah's Witnesses don't want to date. I haven't heard that, so that's a new piece of information, and that this is why I love your show, because I learned so much more about that. I have seen that in Mormonism, because I got married last year and I was 36. I'm 37 now, right? And even in Mormonism, and just in general, people my age and younger either don't want to get married or we rather wait to get married. In my case, it was for my career, and I never cared about dating. I have kids from a past relationship, so marriage wasn't really on my radar. But yeah, it's just interesting to hear that it's kind of a universal thing. And I'm almost wondering if it's like an active rebellion from the JW kids, right? Where they're kind of pushed into dating, and they just saying, like Rick was talking about, they see all the rules and all the things.
Because the Mormons used to have dances, and my high school buddies were all LDS kids. And they do a whole lot more for their young people than the witnesses do. The witnesses expect the young people to be with the adults. They could have used the Mormon example for dances and social occasions. Unless it's a wedding, they have very few social things they get to go to. They can't participate in sports or science club much. I rebelled and was in drama club and did things in school, but I was seen as a rebellious teen for doing school activities that were allowed.
So your era, the LDS were doing dances, because they got rid of a lot of that.
They did. In my era, they did. And my gifted
The conference has been unlocked.
things with me and drama club with me, but normally a witness kid would never be in a school play or sports or anything. It's very strict, and it's unnecessarily strict, because some of those things are approved school activities that are approved by the teachers and the school. So it's kind of, I call it Amish and Dior, because we always had better fashion than everybody else. We were more fashionable than the Mormon kids or the Catholic kids, but it was emotionally like Amish. You know, it was really, it was weird. And
so maybe it's not an active rebellion, but it's just interesting to me that it's in the JWs too, because I thought it would be the opposite.
oh no, the Mormons have much more to do for their younger people, for their teens and such. And so do
I mean, not when it comes to dating, which is what I was talking about.
Well, we're not allowed, we're not supposed to date, and we're supposed to have a chaperone even if we're 40 years old. I didn't follow a lot of those things. I was a rebel, but I know what the rules were. My cousins have a wonderful marriage. They've been married for decades, and they make jokes about the chaperone when they were young. So it's a nutty world unto itself, and you had to live through it to understand it. And there's even unwritten, unspoken rules that, where's the etiquette book so I know what the thing is here. And you'll hear me say the
Dave,
library saved my life.
Well, Dave, let me ask you a question, Dave. In the Mormon religion, how do they treat dating someone that's not a Mormon? So you have a Mormon young man, can he date someone in the so-called world, or does he have to date a Mormon girl?
He has to date a Mormon girl unless the intent is to convert her. Flirt to convert is a thing.
I never heard that. But yeah, well, I guess in many respects that can happen too in the Jehovah's Witness world, but not in all cases. Usually the parents are really, really strict. No, got to be a witness. And I mean, they actually it's like a caste system, really. The sisters in the hall will step in and they're going to say, well, this should be your wife. This should be your husband. And they really push it. Unreal. Well, folks, I think that's just about it for our program tonight. Does anyone have any last words at all? You want to come in and say something?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, Rick.
Yeah.
I wanted to tell you, Rick, this is about the kids, and this is where everybody should, again, be taking notes. And it's the word called mentorship. You see, you and I can agree that growing up a Jehovah's Witness, we didn't really have a mentorship program. I had a guy that was trying to mentor me. He was a Gilead graduate, but he had to run away to Bolivia because he was a pedophile and he got caught in Phoenix, Arizona. But here's the point. You mentioned about rich people and caste system. What rich people and caste system have in common is they have a mentorship program, and they mentor the kids. And so look at the Amish. They mentor the kids, and they actually move buildings, for crying out loud. But here's the point. The point, Rick, is that you mentioned, why are these kids leaving the organization? Why are these kids so much smarter? Because they actually don't have respect, not in a bad way, but they know that the men, like Jesse was saying, the metrosexual men in the organization, a young boy wants to be mentored by John Wayne. He wants to be mentored by, a fighter pilot, or some 100% masculine man. And that's what's happening with the Jehovah's Witness kids. They know these men, they have a mentorship program that doesn't work. But rich people, make no mistake, understand this. And Donald Trump makes sure his kids are very well mentored by the most successful business people, whether it's legal or not, it doesn't matter. They're mentored for success. And you don't have that mentorship program in the Jehovah's Witnesses, and the kids are rebelling, like you said, because they instinctively know they don't have the respect for the effeminate men. And say what you want. Young boys love Michael Jordan. They love Babe Ruth. They love Hank Aaron. They love masculine men. And Jehovah's Witnesses don't have that. The Amish do.
Well, I never thought of that. But you're absolutely right. You're right. A young boy. Yeah, I think most would agree with you there. Yeah.
So the last thing is, don't you see why in this program alone, the Jehovah's Witnesses learn more on the 6 screens than any convention? So stay tuned next week. Your education level will increase. And we'll see you next week, Rick.
Well,
I'll be waiting for that Jimmy Stewart movie. There's going to be a Jimmy Stewart movie coming out.
What's it going to be, an AI? Well, what's it going to be?
No, it's going to be a Hollywood picture. But they don't make men like they used to. I've got to chime in on that one. They just don't.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. No, Jimmy.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Yeah. Well, listen, folks, we really thank everyone for coming into the 6 screens tonight. And we had a lot of people coming in. We'll be back next week. There's no 6 screen Sunday tomorrow. It's every 2 weeks. But I want you all to continue standing tall. Don't you ever give in, up, or out. And as I always say, the last one leaving the Watchtower, please turn off the new light. Susan, what would you like to say?
See you next week.
Yes. And also, Pixie will be in there. Zachary will be in there. Maybe even Diamond Dave will be in. the after party. There you go. So you got the numbers scrolling across the bottom. If you guys want to join a good group of people in the after party, it's not recorded. It's not on YouTube. It's just it's a conversation on the telephone. So be civil and work with the mute system. You hit *1 to unmute, and you hit *1 when you're done talking to mute it once again. So join the after party. You'll have a good time in there. And thank you very much for wanting to spend some time with us here on the 6 Screens Telenetwork. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.